So my role is essentially to help and support you to support students in the application phase of the study abroad journey. So I'm essentially here to answer questions, emails, calls, to guide you through the application and visa process until you arrive in China, where our resident staff take over.
Absolutely. So we can keep this pretty flexible. If you guys, you can use the chat if you want to. You can unmute and ask any questions that you want. We don't have dozens and dozens of people on the call, so it's okay if you whatever works for you and your learning, that'll be just fine. And hopefully everybody can see my screen okay. All right, so it should be showing a slide called What is IFSA? And so that's always kind of helpful to understand, especially if you're a student that's digging into all the options for study abroad. IFSA is the Institute for Study Abroad. We've been around for over 30 years. We're one of the largest providers of study abroad to universities in the United States. And we send students from hundreds of institutions across the country on our programs. We're in 19 countries. We have over 100 programs. And today we're going to focus on the programs in China, which are all in Shanghai. All right, so this is what you can study in China, and it's just kind of an overview, and I'll turn it over to Tamara.
Thanks, Margaret. So as you can see here, we have 4 semester programs in China. Each is worth 15 credits, and we also have a summer program worth 9 credits. So for students studying Chinese, the first one there, Intensive Chinese Language Semester Program, would be the one for you. It's a great fit. We offer all levels of Mandarin language, and you can choose to only study language during the semester, or you can also do a cultural elective. So it's a great option. Students on this program also actually live with homestay families. So it's a very immersive language experience designed to increase your language in as fast as possible time frame. The next one there is for students studying business. We have the International Business in China program. So this program is excellent because it touches on Chinese economics, business, trade policies, finance, and even supply chain management. So you can actually also replace one elective class with a credit-bearing internship. That's 3 credits, and IFSA will arrange this on your behalf. The next semester program we have is Public Health Policy and Practice Semester Program. So if you're considering a career in public health or policy, this is a fantastic option. It's a great opportunity to study how public health policy is created and implemented, obviously in a country that has a huge population spread across a vast geographic area. So all the students would take the Public Health Policy core course that discusses the former one-child policy and family planning, caring for an aging population, child and maternal health, health literacy, and then you choose from electives like traditional Chinese medicine, nutrition, food safety and security, and environmental health. And again, there's also an option here to replace one of your electives with that credit-bearing internship. The final semester program is 21st Century City Semester Program, and it's a chance to investigate how Shanghai has changed over hundreds of years. So all students would take that core course, which is Chinese society in the 21st century, and then choose electives related to contemporary issues, Chinese politics, US relations, economics, urbanization. And again, this is great for students interested in political science, urban planning, economics, and sociology. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is that we do also have the 8-week summer program in Shanghai. This is worth 9 credits, where you can study Chinese language and economics, sociology, or public health. And again, you have that option to opt into a credit-bearing internship.
Mm-hmm. And we have a question as well from Marcel. He's asking if there are still homestays, even in light of COVID, on the intensive program.
Yeah, so this is something that we're working closely with health and safety. We've certainly changed traditionally students who did the language program were required to do the homestay requirement. that's no longer the case. So you can choose to live in a dorm because of that. And we are still finding out about if the homestay option is going to go ahead for this year. So I might just suggest to stay tuned on that, and we'll provide an update as soon as we know more.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a question from Annette. Can students in the 21st century city do an internship?
Yes, my understanding is yes, they can. And this wasn't traditionally the case, but has been a recent development. So yes, they can also do that internship.
Great.
So we did talk about this one already. So it's just an expansion of that 21st century city semester program. So again, you've got the Chinese society in the 21st century core course. And just to expand on that a little bit more, so we've got the urban and rural social transformation, the changing relationship between individual and society, and population control. With Shanghai as your classroom being, you know, obviously, I think 24 million population, it's just an incredible opportunity to explore these issues of sustainable urbanization. And again, you can take Chinese language, that's optional, and here you can now also replace an elective with the credit-bearing internship. So these placements will be tailored to your academic background. We do have opportunities in business, finance, NGOs, teaching English. And if there's anyone particularly interested in this, I can definitely send out some more concrete examples of what students have done in the past. Students on this program will live in actual student apartments on the Sufi campus. So this is a great environment to get to know fellow Chinese and international students, engaging in informal language. The dorms are actually newly renovated. So it's in a building approximately 15 minutes walk from our IFSA Shanghai Program Center, and also close to the Sufi classrooms. And all students live in 4-bedroom apartments, which have a shared kitchen, living room space. Each apartment has 2 bathrooms, kitchen. They are furnished bedrooms with desks. However, meals are not included in this option. To expand a little more on the international business in Shanghai semester program. So again, it's an amazing opportunity to study international business and economic development in Asia's financial center. It's the China Economic Giant is the core course, and very much focused on China's emergence as a global economic power. So we'll cover the changes in Chinese economy over recent decades. You would be discussing major policy issues encountered by the Chinese government in terms of their high-speed economic growth, and also exploring China's pursuit of full integration in the global free trade system. And again, it's that core course, and then you would take electives related to business, finance, trade, or supply chain management. Again, here you can replace the elective with an internship, and we get a lot of fantastic feedback about this. So it's certainly something I would encourage you to consider. Gives you a first-hand encounter with China's business environment. We have spoken a little bit about life in the dorms. So I just also wanted to highlight here that you do have access to campus resources. So things like libraries, clubs, neighborhood gym facilities. Our Shanghai Program Center is nearby, and the neighborhood is lined with little shops and restaurants to serve the student population. It's an exciting metropolis to live in, and Sufi itself has about 24,000 students on 2 campuses. So it's quite a large environment to be part of. And this is just a slide about our IFSA culture and engagement activities. So these are included in your program. They do vary each semester, as it says, but you can see the list there of possible activities. So from a Chinese dumpling cooking lesson, Tai Chi, traditional calligraphy, Mahjong lessons. They do field trips to Western and Southern provinces. All of these activities are designed to be immersive and culturally relevant. So it's really about helping to deepen your understanding of the whole host culture and make those meaningful connections. And this slide is just really an overview of what's included in IFSA's program. So obviously you're going to get a full course load, which is the 15 semester credits, the Butler University transcript at the end of the program for easy credit transfer. I've mentioned the guaranteed pre-arranged housing. We do airport pickups for students arriving. You'll take part in a program orientation with our Shanghai staff, our resident staff, designed to orient you, make you familiar. They do fun activities and cover materials. And there's also obviously a full medical insurance plan for all students and access to local facilities. We have a 24-hour health and safety team, emergency assistance support. So essentially we're there to support you throughout your journey, whatever may happen. As part of the IFSA programs, you obviously also have access to IFSA scholarships and grants, and great support from IFSA program staff. So that would include your program advisor, in this case me, pre-arrival, but also on-site staff throughout your stay. And some questions about living abroad. So I feel like we've spoken about that the activities are included, and no, you do not need to find your housing in a different country. We organise that on your behalf. So that's good news. Where can you find out about hobbies and day-to-day activities? Visit our website, but we also have, it's actually on the homepage of our website, I believe, the Global Wayfinder tool. And that's essentially a way to search for programs. You can put in your, your interest areas where you would like to go, but there's also a feature to put in your hobbies and day-to-day activities, because we acknowledge that this may be important to you in finding a fit for a study abroad program, where you can also do those things that you normally do at home. So that's one of the search features. You can say, I'm interested in sport, and then when you're searching for a program, that will actually bring up programs that also may have a lot of sport clubs or opportunities. And where can you find out about the study abroad experience of students with diverse identities? I would send you to, we have an amazing IFSA Unpacked Student Stories webpage, which we can send a link to. And these are all stories written by students who have gone on these programs. So they're alum and they come from diverse backgrounds. I had a look and there's quite a few about China specifically, and there's also an interview series you can view with one of our alumni who went on the International Business in China program, and he actually talks about his experience. So fantastic resource to use to find out more from students directly. I'll hand it back over to Margaret for this one. Thanks.
Okay, so just a few academic questions you might be thinking of. We're trying to anticipate what are the different areas of information that might be helpful to you as you're considering a study abroad experience. And we do have such a wide breadth of programs that you can, find just about any major, can find options to go abroad. Of course, you'll want to look at your approved list for your own home institution, because they're going to have a curated list of programs that are going to be available to you. But we also just have a wide range of options that cater to different disciplines on the China programs that we've gone over as well. And particularly with directed research and internships to kind of also accommodate just different professional opportunities for you. If you guys haven't done so yet, I would encourage you to take a look at the CHART database. It's our searchable class database. And you can find it at the top navigation bar on our website. And so basically, all of the classes are going to be in there. And that is going to show programs, classes from programs that are approved at your institution. It'll know and kind of just curate that list and show everything that's available that's in the system that students have recently taken on the various IFSA programs. So it's a wonderful resource. If you are a person who has a strict degree plan, or you have a very specific degree requirement that you need to fulfill, there are some tools and resources built into the chart system that are going to allow you to request help finding specific matches. And what we will do is draw up a report. Sometimes we are adding classes to the database if it's lacking in what you're looking for. And you'll be able to kind of download those records and share them with your study abroad advisor or your academic advisor to see if those classes are going to meet your needs. So we'll do some legwork for you, and then your next steps would be to check with your home institution to see if the classes are going to fulfill the requirements that you're looking for. Yep, so the grades are going to, how they'll be kind of transferred back are going to depend on each home institution. We put them, they're going to display as a letter grade on the transcript, and then how that gets incorporated at your home institution will vary. So you'll want to check in on that. I'm sure that the advisors that are here on the call can answer that specific question for Amherst and Georgetown as well, about, because some schools, you know, the letter grade counts, and others it comes in as transfer credit, and it's just a pass-fail situation. So I don't recall off the top of my head. Ashley, do you have something to add on that?
Sure. At UMass, the grades are printed on your UMass transcript, but they're not factored into your GPA.
I didn't know. Annette, you're also welcome to jump in if you'd like, but I don't want to put you on the spot.
That's okay. Actually, it's the same, that grades just appear on the transcript, the Georgetown transcript, but they don't factor into the GPA. Students do have to make a C or better to get the transfer credit, however.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so yeah, so that's something you'll want to pay attention to, the specific policy for your home institution. And no, you don't have to speak a particular foreign language to study abroad, obviously, but that option is available to you. And China is a great example of that, with the immersive Chinese language program, and then all the English language options as well, and then the optional lower division, you know, Chinese language credits, if that's something that interests you. So those are a few academic points, and we're happy to answer any other questions you might have about academics. We have some really great resources in the chart system, so I encourage you to sign up for that and take a look. I do want to talk for a moment about funding. IFSA has generous funding available in terms of the breadth of scholarships that we offer to students. And I have a note here for Massachusetts anyway. The state school grant is going to be an automatic scholarship for semester programs. And that will apply to the China program. So it's $2,000 off the listed price for state schools. But we also have a wide range of scholarship programs. So you'll want to take a look. There's general IFSA scholarships. There's the Fund for Education Abroad administered diversity scholarship that IFSA offers through the Fund for Education Abroad. We have something called the Work to Study program, where students are working on projects and building professional skills while they're abroad. And so you're going to see, like, the photographs on our brochures and different stories that students are writing for us, things of that nature, are published and become part of your portfolio as a result of the work that you do in that grant program. We also have a scholarship for first generation college students and others too, some specific to location. So you'll want to look at the financial aid and scholarship section of our website and pay attention to deadlines to apply for scholarships. And that's just IFSA. Many of your own institutions are also going to have some robust scholarships options for you as well to take a look at. And then there are also national scholarships. So with a little bit of time and effort, there are some opportunities for you to support funding your study abroad experience. And we're happy to help with that as well. Working abroad is going to vary. It's like I mentioned before, we have the Work to Study program through IFSA, but there are going to be visa restrictions in many parts of the world. For example, in England, you can't do it at all. In Australia, you can work, and so it's going to vary. I'm not sure about particular to China, but I think it'll pertain to visa restrictions when it comes down to working in China. So Okay, and we have a question here. Is there an estimate for how much a semester study abroad would cost yet? So we are updating our website, I think even this week, with all of the fall prices. And what you'll find is you'll find a listing of the program fee, which is going to be tuition and housing. And then we also go ahead and calculate out other estimated costs to help give a full picture for what the study abroad experience is going to look like. And so that'll be things like airfare and day-to-day expenses and meals and things of that nature. I don't know if Tamara, if that's up yet on the website, or if you can take a look and see what we have there for each program. But that is something that if it's not completely filled out right now, we're actively working on it, but I would be surprised if it wasn't just yet. So we'll just take a look at that, Amelia, and see what we find. And you may be also quicker Googling and taking a look to see what we've got up there, because that's a work in progress right now with getting everything posted. And I'll go on until we have information ready. So health and wellness is another area where we like to provide, just proactively provide you with some information, especially in the age of COVID. And so we are monitoring the situation. Of course, we have really robust health and safety infrastructure at IFSA. That's part of working with IFSA and going on an IFSA program to monitor the global pandemic situation and make decisions about whether or not programs can run. And so you will be able to go to our website and just click on the COVID area and be able to see the decision deadlines that are slated for whether or not a program would end up running. Right now, all of our programs are running in China, and that's the intention. But there is a final deadline where we would monitor the situation and take a look and make a decision on the part of IFSA. If a program were canceled, then on the part of IFSA, then any program deposits or any money collected by IFSA would be refunded because that is in alignment with our go, no go decision deadline. And if your home institution ends up canceling the program, even after that deadline, then you would also be refunded as well. And I can show you in a minute on another slide what that kind of guarantee looks like, because we've got it kind of laid out clearly to make it easy for you all to see that, here's when this would happen, and here's what would happen with any money that you've already put into your term abroad. So we'll get into that in just a moment. And
I'll just break in with the program fee for the semester. So to answer that question, the total program fee, including tuition and housing, is $14,975.
Okay.
And it is up on our website now, so I can send the link to that.
Okay, and do you see the chat feature? You can probably just pop it in the chat for people to be able to look at that. Yeah.
And is that for the fall semester and the spring 22 semester, or?
That's for the fall semester at this stage. I'll just check the spring tab. If it's not there, it would expect it to be very similar. So no, that one's not there yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, any difference often comes down to spring semesters having longer weeks, and then that adds housing expense and that sort of thing. We don't necessarily see that as much in China, although I know that a lot of it in the spring term revolves around when the Lunar New Year starts and accommodating the start date on that. So it can vary for those reasons. So there's a question about supporting students with disabilities or even just different types of accommodations. And so that is something that IFSA is well situated to support students and their various needs. There are opportunities to disclose any needs you may have with your program advisor, and as early as possible if there are things that we need to be able to do to help provide you with the support that you need for your term abroad. And definitely there's also lots of stories on the Unpacked website for lots of different disabilities or accommodations that students might have to kind of get a feel for how that is impacted by a term abroad. So absolutely. Medication as well. So we have a system in place to like help you in terms of accessing your insurance provider through the IFSA insurance plan and making sure that you have access to the medication that you need, even seeing counselors, therapists, doctors. And I'm actually going to ask Tamara if she has anything to add to that, being someone who is on one of our sites and understanding how that all works. But if you do get sick abroad, yes, absolutely. I mean, that's when the health insurance would kick in, and that's when it's great that you have staff on site in China to be there for you and to help you kind of navigate those systems and get the care that you need. Did you have anything to add to that, Tamara?
Yeah, so I work on site in Australia as well. And we really have, like for every program, a 24/7 emergency number that you call, and students do call it. And then obviously we're able to help. If it's, even if it's a matter of like calling health professionals or guiding them on what to do, it would depend on the circumstance. But I've also had scenarios where I have been taking a student to the emergency department and sat with them while they're having their diagnosis for most of the night. So it is really like an excellent support service. We are there to help. There's the health and safety team as well behind the scenes that is constantly looking at risk mitigation, which has become, ever more prevalent in the post-COVID world. So that's, really just an excellent support service that we do offer.
Okay, so, and then in the chat, Tamara had put the link to at least the International Business in China program, and I'm sure you guys are savvy enough with being able to navigate and see any of the 4 programs in China for the semester, or the 2 summer programs as well. And then there's the date and fee tab where you can kind of see the breakdown on the program fees. And so this slide, you'll find it embedded on our new website. Just on the homepage is the Global Wayfinder search tool. And just a word about this tool, it does have over 50 different search filters. And so you'll be able to kind of click in and slice and dice program options just based on whatever your needs are. And there may be some elements you might not be thinking of right away, but this can help you think through what you might want out of an international experience. Tamara touched on earlier the interest tab, which has, I think, 20 different interest areas where there might be a culture of that hobby in the host culture. So if that's something important to you to explore more deeply or to have access to, then that's one way that you can use that search filter. So there are some really good resources on the website with regard to being able to think through all the different criteria of a program and what might be a really good fit for you. You can also, there's a filter where you could turn on and off the approved list of IFSA from your own home institution. And you can also, there's an embedded toolkit in there. So there might be some advising topics that are important to you. There's a way to kind of save your notes and prepare for an advising appointment on your home campus, for example, or with Tamara, if you're looking at an IFSA China program, to kind of prepare and get ready as you delve into all the different things that you're thinking about for a semester or a summer abroad. So take a look at that. And then I mentioned earlier the chart system, which is a really fabulous academic tool on our website. And so as you can kind of see in this little picture over here, you can favorite classes that might be of interest to you. You can request that IFSA do some research in aligning curriculum and kind of finding matches to particular degree requirements at your home institution. You can see very specific details, save classes, and so on. So just keep in mind that tool is available to you as well as you think about, academically at least, what you want out of a semester or a summer abroad or a year. And so this is just a little bit bigger picture of what that kind of looks like. And that I'm logged in as a student from IFSA University, but you would be able to see some matches we've identified for other students, and we continue to build based on what your needs are. And then you can kind of slice and dice and take a look at a range of criteria, and then also kind of over here to the right, see some of the different elements of a syllabus that you might look for in a term abroad. So there's a really in-depth tool here if you want to kind of go down a rabbit hole and look at academic specifics if you get to that point in your planning for your term abroad. So we do want to take your questions. What should you do now? If you're looking at the fall, you should definitely start an application, because that way we're going to be able to kind of help you figure out and navigate from here on out as you approach deadlines. And then you would also want to check with your home college or university, because you probably have some sort of an application to do for them as well, because you need to be in their system as well. And so that would end up being like 2 different applications in that case, just to get everything lined up for your term abroad. And even for spring students, for spring 2022, if that's when you're looking, students are beginning to get those applications in. I don't have the slide in here that talks about the future focus guarantee that I was kind of hinting at earlier, with go or no go deadlines approaching in the summer. But basically, there's really no such thing anymore as a non-refundable program deposit in the age of COVID. Pretty much, whenever you put down a program deposit, it just tells us that you're serious about this experience. But if the program gets canceled by us or by your home institution, it's automatically refunded to you, and you even can withdraw up to a certain point in time. Eventually, right as you're getting closer to the program start date, we're putting down and paying for your housing and things of that nature. But all of that, deadlines for when you would have to withdraw are communicated through your program advisor, and it's very clear for you. So there's no interest in that not being clear for you, and making it easy for you to understand what your options are, and to proceed or not proceed with whatever your plans may be in the time of living through the hopefully the end here of the challenges were presented by the pandemic. And so we have a comment. I'm looking at spring 22. Do you think homestays will be offered by then, or is it still up in the air? I have thoughts, but I'll defer to Tamara.
I'd be interested in your thoughts. That's something that we'll have to keep checking with health and safety. It is such a dynamic, moving environment. I would suggest that it's like, my gut feeling would be yes, but that's me. What would you think, Margaret?
I mean, I think so, especially by spring. So I do think so. That's going to be particularly important for an intensive Chinese language student, right? Having the exposure to the language. And so I don't think that we have a final answer today.
No.
That is the intention, and we're going to get back to that just as quickly as we can. Yeah. Good question. So I'm going to turn off the sharing here, because you can more easily see the people who are eager to answer your questions. There we go. What can we answer for you guys? Kind of when are you thinking of going, and what other additional questions do you have about your experience that we can help you with? Did we answer all of it for you?
Are homestays offered in all of the programs, or just the intensive language program?
In China?
In normal times.
Yeah, it is traditionally offered in just the intensive language program. I have recently heard that if students are particularly keen to do a homestay, it could be something that we would consider, but it would be on a case-by-case basis. The homestays are usually also a little bit further away than the dorms, so it's just something to factor into planning.
Mm-hmm.
And to answer the deferring question, yes, absolutely. So we've had a number of students who have applied, obviously, and some programs haven't been able to run, so we have been deferring them to later semesters. That's no problem at all. Most of your application items and the information that you've already put into the application will just transfer over to the later semester. And yeah, it doesn't have to be because of COVID. It can just be personal reason that you don't want to do it. That's fine. We can do that, and you won't lose the work that you've put into the application.
Question. What other questions can we answer for you guys about the China programs, or any other questions? You have advisors from your home institutions on the line too, if you have a question for them.
Can you guys tell us a little bit more about the language curriculum? So it's 6 credits on each of the, well, on the 3 tracks, except intensive language is 12 credits, right?
Okay, so the intensive language, yes, it's the intensive language, but for the other programs, it's optional, or you can take, okay, I may be helpful to go back and share that slide so I don't say the wrong thing here.
And Georgetown does require at least 6 credits, the 6 credits.
So the Georgetown students would need to do that. Okay.
Don't have the option for the 1 credit or no language, actually.
That's right. So there's the essential Chinese language option, and then there is, or you could do like a 6 credit language class.
Okay.
Oh, it wants to pull it to the wrong screen there, but you guys get the drift here. I think you can see it pretty well.
I'll just jump in there. There is also, like with the 15 credit Chinese language, you can also take an additional elective for that one specific program, which would take the total credits to 18.
Okay. And on the intensive language track, do students need to be at a certain level in order to be eligible?
Yes, it's not a total beginner program, so they would have to have like 2 semesters of prior Chinese language. Yeah.
We have a question here. If I go into low intermediate, will I leave the program with an advanced level of Chinese through the intensive language program? Do you have some insight, Tamara?
It's a good question. I would suggest so, but that's probably something I'd like to check with academics and our on-site staff there, just to see what the usual expectations would be. So if you can leave that one, we can come back with an answer. And with the question about the internships, generally these are done on Wednesday and Friday afternoons when you don't have the classes. And as mentioned, it actually does replace a elective. So it is possible to do both and to manage both. And the programs have been designed to make that as easy as possible.
And that what the question was, how do you balance schoolwork with internship? And because you are selecting from a shorter, list rather than directing in a whole foreign universities list of classes, we have it designed perfectly to where you can do an internship, and then other days and times you can participate in the rest of your classwork. So that's right.
How many students are at the IFSA Shanghai Center and in a more regular time? And what's the breakdown between the tracks? You just, roughly.
So I don't know if you have the enrollment top of mind, Tamara, because you're, I don't know if you've looked into that from past semesters. It can vary from, several dozen students on the program, on any one of the 4 programs, and then when you kind of put it all together, it's hard to say just because it's been a year, since we evacuated from spring, but to give you I think spring was particularly large program, if I recall. Do you have anything to add?
I wasn't advising for this program back in spring, so I haven't had the historic reference point with numbers. It's certainly something we can find out. I would anticipate that, fall will be a smaller intake just based on climate, but yeah, I can definitely get that information for you.
It was just sort of a, like, you know, if I'm a student thinking, well, what's my experience going to be like? Is it a cohort of 20 Americans or 40 Americans or 60? You know what I mean? Just
no, it's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to vary how quickly we ramp up, right? Coming out of the pandemic, of course, but probably more in like the 20, 25 range as opposed to 60. Yeah. So there's a question, how many excursions are included in the program?
Another good question. And this is, again, developing differently. So these things do change. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Margaret, is that you have like sort of several activities as part of the orientation program. And then there's usually a cultural activity, some kind of adventure day, and then also one other. So probably 3 or 4, but I can also double check that.
And you also see a range of activity, right? I mean, some of them are more in-depth opportunities with engagement, and then others are going to be like, there might be an opportunity for a meal somewhere, or you know what I mean, or like come in for tea, or different arrangement of activities available through the center as well. Okay, so there's a question which is tough to answer, but it's a good question. At this point, are we optimistic that fall 22 programs will be able to proceed? These programs are open. We have not closed these programs. We do have to kind of reserve the right to wait until the go no go decision deadline has made, just because so much is changing in terms of the rate of vaccination, the rate of spread of the virus, and that sort of thing. But we are optimistic. I will say Australia, New Zealand has shut down, but that is because of the host institutions and the regulations in terms of entering the country, and not in terms of, you know, health and safety standards by any means from an American perspective of being able to go to those countries, right? We would love to have those, have mobilization there for fall. So we are looking at Asia, Europe, and Latin America, and those are the sites that all of our programs are open. Do you have anything to add?
No, that's fine.
And I did think it would be helpful to add the IFSA application deadlines. So you would have to apply by May 1st for fall and then November 1st for spring. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then, of course, you're going to have your application for your home institution, which might be, the deadline may be sooner, I would anticipate, in most cases.
April 15th at UMass. We just extended our deadline from March 15th to April 15th.
Okay.
And our deadline just passed, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
You just said USAC's fall deadline is, IFSA's fall deadline is May 1st?
First, yeah.
And it is posted on your website right now, what date you're going to make a decision about fall semester? Is that, did I understand correctly?
Correct. I'm sorry, I don't have it on the tip of my tongue. I'm going to look it up right now. Tamara, do you already have that memorized?
I don't. I'm opening it now. We can actually send the link to that COVID safety webpage, which has all those dates on there. So just give me a second to bring it up.
I may share my screen and just show you guys how to navigate to that. Let's see, there we go. Okay, so I'm just, here's the global wayfinder I was talking about. And then if we can kind of come down here to the COVID-19 information. And then here's where I was talking about the future focus guarantee and in terms of withdrawal deadlines. So June 21st for the programs in China for summer and fall, looks like. And then here's where you can kind of read up on in the event of program cancellation. This is our health and safety matrix, which kind of explains the situation by country here, as well, to give you some insight into our thinking of what we're looking at right now. And then there's specific information here, another view of June. Okay, the IFSA, we will decide by the 21st, and then June 21st, I'm sorry, IFSA will decide by June 15th on the date, and then you would have a week to, after that, if the program were to proceed, to withdraw beyond that. So it's kind of aligned to help you in making that decision. And some good FAQs here too, about risk mitigation, contingency plans academically, pre-departure. So lots of good information there for you all. And while I'm up here, I may just switch over. It's really easy to get to the scholarships and financial aid page as well for those of you that are curious. We do have a priority deadline coming up just in a few days for March 1st, and then a final, where we allocate some of the monies, and then a final deadline by April 1st, where we release the rest of the monies for the fall term. So you'll want to get your application in if you're interested in IFSA scholarships. Okay. Are there other questions you guys have?
I think there was a question in the chat, are classes in person in the host country? So yes, that is how it is planned. There has been talk if there's a quarantine period required by the Chinese government that potentially just for those 2 weeks, the classes would be then online, but they are planned to be running in person.
Oh, and there's a vaccination question I'm seeing. Do you think being vaccinated will be a health requirement to participate in these programs? That is not a requirement right now. There's just not enough access to the vaccine, at least in the US, at this time to require that. But there is potential. There is potential for that policy to change along the way. Do you have any insight into that, Tamara?
No insight. We've so it's not going to be an IFSA requirement, but will be if it's a Chinese government requirement, that may be something that we need to consider.
Mm-hmm. But right now, there's no such thing discussed. We're just not far enough worldwide in terms of access to the vaccine for that. There's not such a requirement at this time. A good question. There's a question about, are there opportunities to connect with Chinese classmates while abroad, or are we secluded to the IFSA participants?
The classes are IFSA classes, so it is an IFSA program, so you obviously will be spending a lot of time with the fellow IFSA participants. That being said, if you're staying in the dorms as part of the SUFA University, you're going to be mingling with Chinese classmates, university students that will be attending that institution. So it's very much, aimed to be giving you those opportunities to integrate with also the, Chinese students. So we don't want you to only be with IFSA participants. That's not what our programs are about. It's very much providing the opportunities to mingle. And again, if you're taking an internship, they will be, potential to be obviously Chinese companies, people who live there in Shanghai. So we very much like to be integrating with the local population as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions that we can address for you guys? Did you get everything that you're after? We are very eager to see the return of study abroad and, as possible. And so we're optimistic and we're planning for it. And that's what we can say for now. I mean, we're just looking at the timeline for that decision deadline here mid-June and planning and getting everything aligned. And then and then we'll see what happens ultimately. We don't have a crystal ball, so we can't say today, but I can say that we are really optimistic. Any last questions? Well, thank you so much. And thank you to Ashley and to Annette as well for attending and helping us make sure that we're saying everything in terms of your institutional needs as well. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for hosting this. And Ashley, I don't know if you've been sending students, but Georgetown has just approved these programs. So we're very excited to have Georgetown students joining your students.
Not in my tenure, because I've only been at UMass since October 2019, and it feels like we've been.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I started, so I'm excited to start sending students to China. I'm sure UMass students have gone before, but it feels like ancient history.
Yeah. Fingers crossed for normalcy.
Fingers crossed.
All right. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.